I did press the button. Hi, I'm David with EV World News. We're talking about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. I'm back today with our founder and chief editor, Bill Moore. How's it going today, Bill?
I'm fine, and you'll notice I'm also the CTO.
Oh, the chief technology. Oh, you've added yourself a new title, chief technology officer. There you go.
Well, after what I dealt with for the last 24 hours, yes.
Yeah. You know, that whole thing, you go from one day, you lose 3-4 years worth of the database.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, the website won't come up
And the
at
following
all.
week, the website doesn't work. Yeah.
On the plus side, we got a website upgrade.
What's that? Yeah. So the first one with the database, that was all me. I screwed up. Yesterday, though, they decided that that particular machine that my website sits on, that EV World sits on, they were going to give it an upgrade. Great. Faster, more RAM.
It was a Pentium 100. They were upgrading the Pentium 100.
I don't know. The tech didn't tell me what they upgraded to. Just a much better, faster machine. Great. The only problem was that in the process of cutting over, there was at least one setting, whatever that, I think I know what it was, setting was, didn't get translated. So this period of time that they set from 8 till 2 in the morning, which I don't know why they didn't do it in the evening, but I guess they didn't want to pay overtime, whatever. Anyway, so that came time. It says, well, you'll be off because we're doing the upgrade. Oh, that's fine. So 2 o'clock came, and then I start getting all these errors from the website saying your database is inaccessible. We can't show you the page, whatever. And that went on hour after hour after hour. And I finally went to bed about 11 o'clock last night, and it was still off. Got up at 4 o'clock this morning. It was still off. Finally, they come into they have, time you can talk to techs. And I finally got a hold of the tech. These guys are up in Toronto. So, oh God, are they going to put a tariff on this? Anyway. So I got to talk to them, and then they finally got back to me, and we figured out what the problem was. It was just a simple setting, moving the IP address from, where I work to allowing the server to accept, all those kinds. So anyway, we got it, I made one little correction, and bang, we're back in business. So
yeah, the old system was a 48633, but if you press the turbo button, it went to 66 megahertz.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
It had dual disk drives.
Yep. Yeah. So
Right.
I don't know, but I actually one time I did actually own a server. I spent a fair chunk of change with a server that I bought back in the early days of EV World. So
yeah, it makes sense. Did you host it at home, or did you have it at a local?
No, I had it on a rack.
ISP.
Yeah, I had it on a rack. These were some guys that I worked with when I was working full time in web development for a local company.
Nice. All right. Well, first story today. Somebody has a 2022 Ford Mustang Mach E. They just hit 250,000 miles. 0 repairs, 5 sets of tires, and then 250,000 miles, 3 sets of wipers, and I say thousands compared to a gas vehicle. Now, one thing I think they did say is they were rotating their tires every 5,000 miles.
Okay, that would make sense.
That's pretty frequent. That's pretty frequent tire rotation.
Yeah.
Now, but anyways, that's one way to try to get that to save. Because I was with somebody yesterday saying, yeah, and EVs blow through tires pretty fast, and I'm like, well, and we were talking. He goes, I go through a set. Now, the guy is driving a convertible Porsche, okay, and he was saying he goes through a set of tires like every 15 to 20,000 miles on that thing. And I go, well, if you were driving an EV like you're driving your Porsche, you probably would go through tires pretty fast.
Yeah.
I suspect he likes driving his car fast.
Yeah, well, that's what you buy that car for.
Yeah. So, anyways, but it was just kind of, interesting, because you get some of that, but also the tires are also different on his
Yeah.
Porsche than you would have on an EV, and that they're more designed, for high speeds and stuff like that. But it's still hard for folks to fathom. And I get people all the time who say, "Well, this car's gone 200." Well, I had this pickup truck that's gone 400,000 miles,
Yeah.
but it's on its second engine or whatever, and it's like, well, um, I'm not saying you can't keep
Yeah.
redoing a car, but this guy says he's had no issues.
Yeah, I bought a Honda minivan with 200,000 miles on it. I
Hmm.
needed something to carry my bikes in, and I got this thing for like $2,000, something like that. It was
Hmm.
nice, it was well maintained and everything. But yeah, 200,000 miles, so it can be done.
Right. Oh yeah. Well, I'm not saying it, but I get so many people that talk about how EVs are disposable, and they think the battery pack only lasts as long as a 12-volt battery and all of that. And you know,
No.
like I said, not a single penny spent on repairs. That is quite often to be out rotating, especially because the guy, if you bought it in 22, he's driven about 80,000 miles a year. He says he actually he charges at home, and he supercharges every day as well. So because he
Okay.
has to, because
So
he's
he does a
driving.
lot of driving in a day. Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing I can imagine, he must be some kind. It doesn't say what the guy does, but assuming he must be some kind of like regional salesperson or
Yeah,
something like that.
or maybe a tech of some kind, the guy that goes around and fixes. Remember the guys that would come around and have to replace the big office printers and things like that. You had a guy that was all he did was, work on office printers. So
Now this is pretty impressive. This is good news for a Ford here. So at 3 years and 250,000 miles, his battery health is at 92%.
beautiful.
He's dropped from 306 miles of range to 290. And I charge at home on level 2 every night, and will need to complete a fast charge 1 to 2 times per day every day.
Yeah, he puts a lot of miles on then.
Yeah, he's driving a lot. I would imagine that when he says he does that, I bet he fast charges and adds like 100, 150 miles and then goes on,
Yeah.
kind of thing, because he knows he's going to be able to charge it to full at home. But, you know, but this is, we've seen lots of these examples with Tesla, right? This is probably the first one of these articles I've uncovered on
Yeah.
a non-Tesla brand EV in the United States.
Yeah, I wonder what his costs are to do that though. He must be Well, if he's doing it, he could probably get mileage reimbursement, but I don't know how that works for an electric car,
Mhm.
because he's obviously he's paying whatever the local residential rate is when he charges overnight at home, but he's probably not getting that because he's a Ford. He's not a Tesla. He's not getting a free Tesla supercharger.
Yeah, I'm sure he's expensing 65 cents a mile or whatever it is right
I
now.
would think so. Yeah.
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 Shoot, that's what on 80,000. Well, if he's expensing $50,000 a year on that vehicle, probably doesn't have very high, you know, cost of fueling it or anything like that. So that's pretty bright. Um, he drives hard, but doesn't abuse the machine. Um, but it is pretty astonishing that 250,000 miles, he's got 92% left.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember.
Those are those are LG Chem batteries that Ford uses?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I was going to say, but the norm seems to be like 1% degradation per 13,000 miles. I think, but
Possibly.
that's more a Tesla. That's kind of what
Yeah.
Tesla
Yeah.
typically is 1%. So that the cars, the battery's supposed to need to be replaced at 70%, but that puts it at about 390,000 miles, right?
Yeah.
But this,
You know who we should get on? We should get on somebody from Recurrent. I'd love to hear what they're
mhm.
finding. You know what? I
Yeah.
found out that not only can you get battery data from them, you can actually have them, I think, from what I'm understanding, have them sell your car for you.
Oh, here's something interesting. I don't know where he's fast charging at, but he says he's paying 14 cents per mile fast charging, 2 cents
Yeah.
per mile. Oh no, 1 cent per mile charge with home charging.
Wow, he's got
So
a really good rate.
yeah,
Maybe he
he
has some
says his.
solar at home.
I'm wondering. He says his cost for electricity is 2 cents per kilowatt.
Yeah.
That's
That
so
that that's that's
that's
pretty
either
cheap.
middle of the night rates, or which is possible, or it's his
Yeah.
own solar. Yeah. Um, but anyways, I just thought that was a pretty cool article to see, and
And,
you know,
and speaking of life of the battery, that's kind of how we
mhm.
started off here. Korean researchers have now come up with a way they think to be able to get a battery that'll do 1 million kilometers
Yeah,
of
I
life.
saw that. We've seen a couple of those though. This isn't the first announcement I've seen with those kind of numbers being pledged, but so that's what 625,000.
620,000 miles. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of life out of a
That's
battery.
how many owners is that? Let's assume the first guy, moves on after, was it 3 years?
Probably four, five, six. I
Probably
mean,
four or
around
five
that time.
different owners. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we talked about this. If EVs as used vehicles still start maintaining value to some degree when they've got hundreds of thousands of miles. Right now, if you look in the used car space, that one of the few cars that people really look for that has high miles is like a Prius. Okay, there's still a market for people that'll buy a 200, 300, 400,000 mile Prius. They expect they can still squeeze some life out of it, or
Right.
that it's worth repairing. And you see this with full size pickup trucks because that chassis is worth money. Okay. And so it's interesting kind of to see that if you start having a useful life, because what's the big thing? If you're going to go buy a used gas car and it's like $1,000. Well, you're thinking, I'm going to have to put three, four, $5,000 a year in maintenance into the damn thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not that cheap, and it's a lot harder to do all your own maintenance on a gas car now than it used to be, with everything being computerized and all of that. There's so many more systems. You certainly wouldn't want to go buying a really old Range Rover or BMW or Mercedes that has all those extra parts and pieces that can bust. I'm always impressed when I see somebody that's obviously got a really old one. I've got a doctor friend who has a '57 convertible Mercedes. Um, I think it's a 180. I can't remember it's like a 180 SEL or something like that.
Right.
And he drives
Right.
it to tennis occasionally. And his dad bought it new. And they've had that car in the family since 1957.
Yeah. I was going to say there's probably somewhere in the 50s. Yeah.
Yeah, I asked him, I go, where's the extra Mercedes badges on here? And I think they've only rolled it over once. So it's really not been driven that much. It's only
Yeah.
got a little over 100,000 miles in all those years. They only drove it a couple thousand
Wow.
miles a year. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you might drive it more now. And that's one that would definitely be worth converting to electric if the motor ever went out, right? Because it's such
Oh yeah.
a,
It's a classic. Yeah.
yeah.
You have to take it over to England to do that, but yeah. Seems like
Well,
that's
you
where
can,
they do those old classic cars is those
yeah,
couple of shops there in Britain.
yeah, but that would absolutely seem like a good one for that. All right, let's talk about India. So India adds 7.3 gigawatts of renewable capacity in June, just in June.
Just in the month of
Um,
June.
in the last 10 years, India has had 4,000% growth. That's 40x in solar energy capacity. And in just last
Wow.
year, they installed You're on your growth. A year ago in June, they did 1.4 gigawatts. This year they did 7.3. It's a 420% increase. Um,
Good for them. That is
yeah, that's a
fabulous.
lot. And as a result of this, we were doing some research, and Tata and Reliance Energy both manufacture solar panels in India. So India has a homegrown solar manufacturing industry, although the Reliance ones are probably all going into Reliance solar farms because they own the largest solar farm in the world. So um, I would that one that we reported on that was up by the Pakistani border, that's a Reliance.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. So
Up in
anyways,
Bengal, is that the Bengal area?
no, it's over towards Pakistan.
Well, yeah, it's up in that northwest
Yeah,
corner there.
yeah. But anyways, I thought that was pretty fascinating because that's a lot of, they're really embracing solar, but India has such massive energy needs with its population being
Oh,
five
yeah,
times the size of the US. And
yeah.
they're trying to modernize and bring in, all their own data, AI projects and data centers and stuff like that. And, you know, they're really power hungry because I keep bringing up about the, um, but,
Oh, okay, yeah. It's Yogi says it's Adani.
Adani owns Reliance.
Oh, okay, okay,
He's the main guy at Reliance.
okay.
That's one of his companies. Um, but anyways, um, they crap. I've forgotten what I was talking about. Thanks, Yogi. Thanks for disrupting the show. No, I'm just kidding.
We love you, Yogi. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's different than I thought. I don't know. I just well, I will get into it right now. Anyways, so there's a lot of people who are critical of solar, that it's some kind of scam or whatever, but it's such an important part of, energy diversity worldwide. Um, and I've heard, Elon Musk has talked about how much solar you need to power the United States, how much solar you need to power the world. Somebody's saying we
100
need about,
square miles of in the U.S. and I think the world you could do it with well, I forget the exact, but just a corner of the Sahara Desert, a
well,
tiny
so
corner of the Sahara
I
Desert.
got somebody saying that currently we need about 500,000 square kilometers, which is about the size of Spain in
Oh,
solar
okay.
panels. Okay. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know this guy's math or anything like that, but, we'll just assume that he's fairly accurate. But he said that wildfires in 1 year recently burned 4 million square kilometers of forest, so 8 times that size, devastating wildlife and habitats as we
Yeah.
continue using fossil fuels. But it says we waste over 20 million acres in the US growing corn just for ethanol. A
Mm-hmm.
land use so inefficient that solar would generate up to 80 times more energy from the same ground.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, if we simply shifted some ethanol farmland to solar, we get far more clean energy and free up space for food production, wildlife, or nature, not destruction. The real land problem isn't solar, it's outdated priorities.
Yeah.
Um, one of the things was, somebody had an article, they were talking about parking lots are naturally ugly. Solar makes them less ugly if you're putting,
Oh, exactly.
panels and, putting
And you're
sunscreen.
protecting the cars parked underneath.
Right, right. I hear people all the time talking about one good hailstorm takes out all of the solar panels. I guess,
Go.
I've had hailstorms and my panels have never been damaged.
Yeah.
And I've been really surprised at, now the only thing I don't like is when a flock of birds comes by and they'll crap on the panel.
Yeah.
Because then I
Yeah.
have to wait for a really good rainstorm or I have to get out
Yeah.
the pressure
Yeah.
washer and
Yeah.
try to wash that off because it's really obvious. And sometimes if it hasn't rained lately, the panels get dirty if we have dust blowing through.
Yeah. Yes.
So that
Well, if
a
it's
good
any
rain even.
indication of the dirt that ends up in my bird bath,
Hmm.
about 2 or 3 days, I have to completely flush the bird bath because it's full of dirt. Now, I'm assuming that's birds coming in and, that have been
Cleaning.
cleaning themselves, and using, what are they, dust baths or whatever,
Hmm.
and getting that off. But yeah, we get a lot of dust gets in the air in this part of the country.
Yeah, but I get people all the time telling me how bad solar is, and I'm just like,
Nah,
it's just another tool in the energy toolkit.
sure.
Um, yeah, I had something come up on LinkedIn. Rob Ellis is somebody I'm connected to that he specializes. He's kind of like Mike, like Mike Herzog,
Hmm.
and he's consultant in grid infrastructure. Anyways, Pennsylvania just announced a $70 billion AI and energy infrastructure deal. Google, Amazon, Brookfield, CoreWeave, and Blackstone were all part of this.
Yeah, is that
Now,
Carnegie Mellon? I think he went to Pittsburgh, wasn't it? That event?
I don't have specifics about the event, but let's see. But this guy, he's talking about because he says Florida needs to do this. And I've also seen some interesting stuff about how the Seminole Indians in Florida are really big in solar, and they're supplying
Makes
energy all
sense.
over the state. But this guy would like to see something half that size in Florida, and he's suggesting even a site because there's already 2,200 acres in the I-10 corridor with 2.2 gigawatts of behind-the-meter solar and wind potential. That would add a lot of energy, that's for
Is that
sure.
what in the median?
No, this would be like just along the corridor.
Oh, okay, it's along the
Yeah,
right of way access. Yeah.
yeah. I-10 runs. Obviously, it runs from Jacksonville, Florida, to Los Angeles, or it runs to San Diego. Maybe it runs to San Diego. It runs right along the southern border.
Oh, okay, the
Right.
I-10. Okay, I was thinking
Yeah.
of what's that one that runs north south?
I can't remember. I can't remember the numbers in
Okay.
Florida, but it might be 35. But
I've
I'm
been
not.
on it, but I can't. But that was so long ago, I can't tell you. Don't remember.
Yeah, but anyways, it's just interesting. 70 billion in AI and energy infrastructure just in Pennsylvania. I mean, energy is such a big deal. It's just hard to fathom sometimes.
Well, what was it that
Numbers are
made
pretty staggering.
Pennsylvania? Coal,
Coal. Hmm.
then oil, or was it oil, then coal, then steel?
Yep. And now we've got fracking.
And then you
Pennsylvania is
got
a big
fracking,
fracking
which
state.
I'm not a huge fan of, but that's mostly located over in the Appalachian part of the state, isn't
Hmm.
it? I think so.
All right, Bill, I got a fun one for you. Um, China's clean air could be behind an acceleration in global
Yes,
warming.
that's a real twist.
Yeah, so China's been doing a good job of trying to cleaning up their air, and so with less particulate matter in the air, it may be letting more heat build up.
No, well,
Yeah,
what it's doing is it's not masking the environmental impact that we've been. In other words, we've been steadily building the amount of carbon dioxide and the warming that's going on, and that all that pollution that was scattered across 2/3 of India was
hmm,
masking that. In other words, it was
yeah,
providing some reduction in solar radiation reaching the Earth. And now, when
hmm,
you remove that, you're suddenly seeing that, oh my God,
warming up
we have
faster
we
than
have a
expected.
problem here we have a problem, ironically, with clean air.
Yeah. Well, I've seen lots of discussion in the past on if global warming is a real issue, the solution would be to seed clouds over the ocean because there's not really a lot of clouds over the ocean on a regular basis, and that would cool off the atmosphere and the
Yeah,
ocean
but
and the planet.
now you're going to get Marjorie Taylor Greene all pissed off.
Telling you you're going to get weird storms. Yeah, wasn't she trying to blame the flood in Texas on
Oh
that?
yeah, it was on cloud seeding. Yes, absolutely. Blame it on cloud seeding. That's it.
Yeah. But there's been a 75% reduction in East Asian sulfur dioxide emissions in the past 12 years. That's a pretty big change in air quality.
Oh yeah.
Um, in addition to causing millions of premature death, air pollution shields the Earth from sunlight and therefore cools the surface. There's been so much air pollution that it has held human-induced warming in check by up to half a degree Celsius over the last century. That's an interesting take. But
Well, the answer is
everything has
just
consequences, right?
yeah. The answer is just stop. Leave the stuff in the ground where God put it.
Oh yeah, I'm with you. All right. So here's kind of an interesting thing that just popped up today. Uber has signed a 6-year robo-taxi deal with Lucid and invested $300 million into the EV company. And they're looking to deploy 20,000 robo-taxis over the next 6 years as demand for driverless cars kicks into high gear. They're going to call it Luber.
Loomer, huh?
Luber.
Right,
Luber. Luber.
Luber, right. Well, they
I mean,
Lucid,
do not be confused with tuber.
right? Yeah, Lucid just announced that they are introducing level 2. Driving. What's the term? It's driver. I'm going to call it driver assist. It's not autopilot. So it's level 2 driver assist. I think here shortly, with the next few weeks or months.
So there's another company called Nuro, Nuro. It's an autonomous vehicle startup. Under the agreement, Uber is investing $300 million in Lucid. Nuro will develop a self-driving tech that Lucid will use to supply Uber with robo-taxis over the course of the deal and receive a multi-$100 million investment. Lucid stock jumped 30% today on this news.
Yeah, what are they
Uber
at now?
shares, I haven't looked in a while.
Because they were running what, about 230, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, they're
$2.30.
Oh, they're up 40.6% today. They're
All
up
right.
322. So they had
322. Boy,
they were at like 230.
Yeah, almost a buck.
Yeah. Oh, but as we talk, it went down with us. So,
of course. I was just leaning over and looking at my cryptos over here. It's finally starting to inch back up.
There you go. Anyway, it's a interesting thing to see what there's so many people who depend on their income from Uber, and Uber's trying to get rid of them all by replacing them all. But it'll be interesting to see where all of this goes. I mean, we know it's definitely the future. Lucid said its 450-mile range for the Gravity, which is their SUVs,
right,
could help cut costs and charge times while improving accessibility. The program may eventually include future Lucid vehicles currently in development. That's pretty cool. Let's see, Nuro in April, the startup raised $106 million in a funding round from T. Rowe Price, Fidelity, Tiger Global, and Greylock.
Wow.
Yeah,
they must have some serious mental horsepower behind that company then.
Yeah, it must have. That's a pretty good little fundraise. But it's just interesting to see where that's going. Expecting to first launch later next year in a major U.S. city. So sometime in 26, they hope to have that out. And Nuro Driver expects to be able to deliver a level 4 autonomous system.
Yeah. Where would you think they'd put something like that? Now with that, we got Phoenix covered, we got San Francisco covered, we have Austin sort of covered. So what are you thinking? Atlanta?
You know, it does make you wonder that if there was any news. I mean, it would kind of to me make sense to be a California city still, but
LA?
yeah, it's just I don't know if it would be LA. You know, it might be something a little smaller like a Sacramento or yeah, but they don't really say.
Well,
I think so.
that's deliberate.
So
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 I
think about
wouldn't
this.
say either.
You know, now and I realize that Waymo does some stuff in San Francisco,
Yeah.
but if you look at the other places people are really doing autonomous vehicles, it's Phoenix, which is a modern city,
Hmm.
right? Austin, Texas, which is a very modern city. What I'm kind of getting at is um, these cities were, let's just say, better planned maybe than San Francisco, and so maybe there's
Oh
more options
yeah.
as to where they go. Yeah, I'm just saying, like you wouldn't want to pick Washington D.C. You know, what was it? A drunken Frenchman on a blind horse laid out the city.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep. Yep.
um, yeah. I'm just
Well,
saying, there's certain.
Chicago, right?
You think Chicago's well laid out?
Well, no. Well,
Think about Nebraska. Think about Omaha. Omaha. I mean, all our roads. You can't get lost here because you basically
it's a
you can
grid
always find a
system.
road that goes yeah east, south, northwest. Our roads are very rarely curved. Um, and so from the air, the whole city just looks like a damn
Well,
cider bar.
and if you get outside of the center of Chicago there along the lake, it
Mhm.
pretty well a grid system too.
Okay, yeah, so maybe that would be a good one as well. To me, some of your cities like New York City, other places, man, one little hiccup with the FSD, and you could tie up, you know, traffic for hours.
Oh, and traffic. You don't want another car on the road there, and particularly in downtown Manhattan. I mean, there's there's enough automobiles cruising around there to encourage people to use the subway, right?
Right. Um, I'm with you. Anyways, I just Uber has operations in 70 countries, 34 million trips per day.
Wow.
That is a lot of trips. I wonder if they do anything in that one country where they have people that, they have the motorcycle share where you hop on the back of the motorcycle and the
Right.
guy drives you somewhere. I
Right.
wonder if they have any of that. Um, but all right, we're going to go on to the last story of the day.
All right.
This one's about Nebraska. All right. The real reason guardrails can't stop EVs in a crash. Well, maybe our Nebraska guardrails just aren't that sturdy. There's a thought for you. Maybe we have inferior guardrails. Yeah, so this research is done at the University of Nebraska in Lincoln.
Right.
But
Just down the road
maybe,
that way, folks.
yeah. So they used a 7,100-pound Rivian R1T to obliterate a highway safety barrier. And it's probably where our dumb senator got that idea that EVs weigh 3 times as much as other vehicles. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, what vehicle weighs 2,400 pounds that you're driving that's a gas vehicle?
Yeah.
I mean that's kind of ridiculous to think. But there are, let me see, an F-350 Platinum is about 7,600 pounds. That's 500 pounds heavier than that. Let's see. But there are some like the GMC Hummer. Isn't it like almost 9,000 pounds? I mean,
Yeah.
the Hummer is crazy heavy, but it has an enormous battery, that 214 kilowatt hour battery pack.
And I saw something that they're now selling more Hummers than they're selling Cybertrucks.
Oh, wow. Huh. That's, I guess that doesn't really surprise me at the moment,
Yeah.
with some of the hate on Elon. And all this, but, there's something too that the Hummer's got just a certain reputation, and
Got a
essentially
certain
it,
panache, that,
yeah,
yeah,
it's not quite an Escalade, but it's still fairly similar in that realm.
right. I
You know,
guess, yeah.
I don't think of it as the military vehicle that it
originated
Hummer
from.
used to
Yeah.
make the Hummer H1. That's the military vehicle. You absolutely would not want to own and drive as a private citizen, unless maybe you lived on a farm or something like that.
Yeah.
But so with at the University of Nebraska, they're testing with vehicles ranging from 2,400 pounds, which is a subcompact, to 5,000 pounds, which are full-size pickups. Vehicles weighing 7,000 pounds or more are outliers. Well, even in the EV space, the Rivian R1T is an outlier. It's not like it's a super common EV. We see them. It's pretty cool to see a Rivian driving around, but they are not super common because they are.
Yeah, I actually saw one. Was it this week or late last week? Out
Yeah,
walking here on Shram. It is
yeah. I'm just saying.
heading west
I
on
see,
Shram.
but you see Teslas all the time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And
I do. As a matter of fact, now.
yeah, I mean they're super common. I'm just saying they're not. Yeah, but it's kind of funny. Engineers aren't designing barriers just for the cars and trucks on sale. But I mean, are they forgetting about the tractor trailers that are going down the road too?
Yeah. But the thing that the article brings out, which I found interesting, is that the reason why these cars, I mean, yes, weight is an issue, right? I mean, you have to admit that an EV weighs 800 to 1,000 pounds more than its gas its gas sibling. But the other factor the article points out is that where that weight is located in all modern cars, with the exception of the Corvair, which we talked about, or the Volkswagen Beetle, which obviously are very light cars, right? Where the engine's in the back. Everybody's engines are up high, mounted in the front. That's why we got these big hoods and the big grills to suck in the air and so on. The barriers apparently were engineered with that dynamic weight in mind. High weight at the front of the vehicle. Your electric cars aren't that way. Your electric cars have this low slung battery pack near the ground, and that's a completely different physics that were not taken into account when we began to build these barriers in the era of the interstate, when we started building Eisenhower's interstate. So yeah, they were designed for a different physics than what we're starting to see now with your electric cars with these low slung batteries. You can't tip an EV over, right? It just ain't going to happen because of the low center of gravity. So that's the other aspect of this, not just the weight, but also now we need to figure out how to take into account the different weight dynamics that you find in all modern EVs today.
Yeah, if you're drifting in your EV, it's not good for the tires.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, folks, I got good news. I have a bonus article I meant to cover. And this one is on the amount of electricity generated from solar is suddenly unbelievable. And this is an article. Well, it was a story originally in the New Yorker, but in worldwide, renewables made up 96% of demand for new energy throughout the globe in 24. In the US, it was 93%, only 3% less. 93% of new energy capacity in 24 came from solar and wind.
Yep.
And people are always criticizing me, but damn, that's a lot of new energy. So here's where it gets crazy. In the world, okay, so I've talked to people about nuclear power and stuff like that, and how long it takes to put in a nuclear reactor and stuff like that. And usually, when you see one of these big modern nuclear facilities with the smokestack, each of those stacks is generally supporting maybe a gigawatt, maybe half a gigawatt of electricity. Worldwide, in solar energy alone, every 15 hours, so this is damn near twice a day, we're installing a gigawatt of solar worldwide.
Amazing.
More than the output of a new coal plant. but I don't know of many coal plants doing a gigawatt. Most of them seem to be more like 400, 500 megawatts. So about half of a
Yeah.
gigawatt. I'm just saying that is a crazy amount of output. I had no idea that that much solar, and we're talking the whole planet, mind you, but it took 68 years since the invention of the first photovoltaic solar cell in 1954 to construct a single terawatt's worth of solar power. It took 2 years to hit the second terawatt in 2024, and the third is expected within mere months.
Can you imagine what Thomas Edison would think? Because
Yeah.
he predicted that at some point we would stop using, because coal, when he was doing all his inventing and everything, we were using lots and lots of coal.
Mhm.
And he said, though, at some point there was another guy who said, eventually we're going to run out of coal, or we're just going to end up overheating the planet because we're using it. And so
Mhm.
Thomas Edison said, the future of electrical power generation wasn't coal, it was solar. And he's saying this like in the early 1920s, mid 1920s. He could
Yeah.
see that happening, and here we are. Century later, we're actually doing it.
Yeah. So in that 68-year period, in the first 66 years, a whole terawatt of, of solar was installed worldwide. And in the last 2 years, the second one was installed, and they're now
Wow.
figuring it'll be a few months before a third one is done. It's been fueled by huge efficiency gains in solar energy output, breakthroughs in manufacturing, streamlined installation processes, huge developments in panel recycling, meaning the darker side of solar energy, the mineral extraction and panel fabrication might one day be a thing of the past. Now, I've had some people that I've been talking to that have a nano coating that's supposed to improve the quality of your solar by 20 to 30%.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I'd like to I've talked to them in person, and we talked about having them come on the show, but I just haven't um, set anything up with them yet. But I'll get them on here.
Okay. That'd be great.
But this is this was kind of a sleeper article. I mean, these are amazing numbers.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, a
Yeah.
gigawatt every 15 hours. I mean, when I'm talking to people about putting in nuclear energy, we're usually talking about, putting in 20 megawatts or something
Yeah.
like that. And gigawatt is a grid scale reactor. And, it's like 10 years plus to get a grid scale reactor put in. And for that to be
And the
happening,
fuel is free every day.
well, yeah, I had something not long ago talking about how battery backup systems have greatly plummeted in price. And so there's a lot more opportunity now to be in
Well, yeah,
that
there's a
space.
just recently published article that they're going to be using the batteries at Redwood, who are doing the recycling. They're going to be using
Mhm.
batteries that they're not currently need for recycling. Apparently, they're going to use that then along with solar to power a data processing center there
Mhm.
where the Redwood campus is located. So yeah,
So the US, Germany, and Japan are near the top of the leaderboard for solar capacity, but the undisputed leader is China. In
yeah,
2023, China installed more solar than the next 9 countries combined.
yeah.
Um, China is following through on a 10-year plan to triple its solar capacity by 2030, but it could actually hit it next year in 2026. That means in 6 years, they may have tripled their solar capacity
Yeah.
if it keeps up with the current pace. Um, it has clear benefits for the environment and the health of Chinese citizens, also serves a geopolitical purpose,
Oh,
naming
oh, does
ending its
it?
well, they're saying they're trying to end their energy dependence on American oil and coal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and the U.S. under Trump is drastically reversing course on a renewable future. The big beautiful bill includes an end to
Bullshit.
tax incentives for new buyers of solar panels and batteries. Um, let's see.
They're actually, there's actually they're producing at such a rate in China that the government is concerned that they are negative, because the more and more you produce, the cheaper and cheaper it gets, to where it gets to the point where they're not profitable. And this is happening to car companies too. So I think there's been talk about placing limitations on the producers, the solar panel producers, just like on the car producers, to try to slow that down, to try to maintain some profitability in the business. Because right now they're cutting their throats. BYD, Neo, all those guys are at a point where nobody's making any money at this. They're losing money.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that was those were some staggering numbers. I still can't believe that.
Yeah.
Every 15 hours, a gigawatt of solar.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
That is just an astounding figure. Anyways, all right. Well, folks, thanks for watching, and we'll be back next week. I think we may have some guests next week.
All right.
We'll see. Anyways, all right. Everybody have a great day and have a good weekend as well.